Space exploration truly brings out the best in us, encouraging people from all walks of life to work together to achieve a common goal, to know the cosmos and our place within it. We are the Planetary Society.
Welcome to the Planetary Society Live. I'm Matt Kaplan, host and producer of the Planetary Society's weekly podcast and public radio series, Planetary Radio. I'm so glad that you've joined us. I don't think you'll be sorry. And if you've heard Peter Mayer, you already know you won't be sorry. Before we welcome Pete, I've got a question for you. Do you love space exploration? Do you experience what our CEO, Bill Nye, calls the PB&J, the passion, beauty, and joy of science? If so, I hope you'll consider joining us as a member of the Planetary Society. Go to planetary.org/membership to learn more and sign up. And if you're already a member like me, thank you. You're part of everything we do, including this show. I have always loved any opportunity to stand at the intersection of art and science, and that's why I was left speechless when I first heard Pete. I was in the car listening to the old Sirius XM folk channel when his beautiful voice began to sing about how scientific discoveries can upend the world, even as they deepen our understanding and passion for all that is. It's one of the songs he's going to perform for us today, by the way. It wasn't long before I found Pete and invited him to join me on Planetary Radio. And it wasn't long after that first appearance that I welcomed him for a Planetary Radio live performance. On stage with us that day was Planetary Society CEO Bill Nye, another human who appreciates the power of art to express the passion, beauty, and joy of science. A few more years have gone by. I've enjoyed several more of Pete's performances, and I think I have at least one copy of each of his albums. When my colleagues at the Planetary Society asked if there was a topic or guest I'd like to feature in our new Planetary Society Live series, I realized it was an opportunity to welcome Pete back. So, Peter Mayer, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. It's a joy and a privilege to be with you today. I'm so grateful.
It is always a joy to be in your presence, especially when I know we're going to hear some of your great music. You know, I've got questions for you. We may be later getting some questions from people who have joined us to watch online, but I don't want to waste another minute. Let's get right into the music. What do you want to open with?
Well, this is a song, one of the reasons I'm excited to be here is because the story of the universe and the cosmos has had a great impact on my life. I think it's a story that belongs to all of us, and it's a story that if we can, we ought to tell our kids and our grandkids because it's a great source of meaning, or can be. And so this song is kind of my crack at, gee, if I had 4 minutes to sit down with a child, what would I try to tell them about who they are and what their story is? So this is a song called Beautiful Child of the World. You come from the time before time, before the universe was born, when there was a seed that it was inside, and then it all came crashing forth. You come from the great fire of stars. They made the atoms in your bones. They put a light inside of your heart. They put a brightness in your soul. You come from a stone's uncanny desire, beautiful yearning of the earth, beautiful longing to be alive, beautiful child of the world. You come from a vast family tree. You come from the first life to appear. You come from the land. You come from the sea. You come from 1,000 million years. You come from a fierce warrior's song, a noble hunter's eyes. You come from love, tender and strong, compassionate and kind. You come from all the hopes and dreams and made your ancestors' hearts stir. Their beautiful passions and beautiful schemes. Beautiful child of the world. You come from laughter and from tears. Beautiful unexpected turns from the sliver of chance that brought you here. Beautiful child of the world. And you belong as much as the moon, as much as the morning unfurled, as much as the robin's beautiful tune. Beautiful child of the world, and all of the thousand beautiful parts of the story of your birth are singing together the song that you are, beautiful child of the world.
Oh, that was just gorgeous. Thank you, Pete. There's so many of your tunes that give me goosebumps. We'll hear some others that do that every time I hear them. But this was a special treat, getting that a cappella.
Well, thanks. I was explaining to you beforehand that it's mostly because it's a very silly tuning to try and get to and from when I'm performing, so it's easier to sing it a cappella instead of inflict the tuning on everybody. So, but thank you. I'm glad it worked okay.
I would say so. You're a dad. Was this written for any particular child, or did you really have all of our children in mind?
Well, I guess I guess the latter. I mean, of course, I am a dad, and my girls are 9 and 13, so I am involved with explaining things and trying to be a good parent, trying to give the world to the child, if you will. But I do think that it's also a challenge. Gee whiz, science is giving us this stuff. Some of it is rather recent, certainly in the vast scope of human history. And the stories that give our lives meaning and purpose and a sense of belonging aren't necessarily informing us well, given the current information that we're learning. And so, like I said before, the story of the universe has had such an impact on me. I think it has beauty and profound meaning if we want to break it open a bit. And so anyway, but we're still, I think the world, human race is still in the process of coming to terms with this story, this new story, so to speak, that we've acquired through science. So anyway, yeah.
Well put. I mean, and I think we're going to hear that theme in a number of your other tunes. I'm going to say up front, and then we'll repeat it at the end as well, because there may be people who already maybe have never heard of you but want to hear more. So petermayer.net, right, is the good place to go?
That's right, .net. I usually say with good humor, think of me as Peter the fisherman. The Apostle Peter, if you
throwing your
have
nets.
Followed Christianity, was a fisherman, and so Peter the fisherman with the net, petermayer.net.
You fisher
yes,
of man,
because there is
men.
another
You
Peter
fisher
Mayer,
of men and women.
That's right. Yeah, so we often get confused with each other. The other Peter Mayer is also a singer-songwriter who is connected to Jimmy Buffett, incidentally. He's been playing with him for many years, so that's another way to delineate between the two of us. But yeah, .net is me.
You have some great quotes on the website. There's a bio. There are some wonderful quotes from some other very talented people. I just want to read one of them, and it's from the incomparable Janice Ian. Pete writes, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I just started to do the wrong one, didn't I? Oh, you know what? What did I do with that quote? Here it is. I'm a huge Peter Mayer fan, but only when I don't feel like killing him for being so good. I love Peter's work, though it irritates me that he plays so much better than I do. If I rocked half as hard as Peter does, I'd own the world by now. That from Janice Ian. That's pretty good praise.
Yeah, that's quite flattering. Now, but does that imply then that I do own the world? Because if she rocked half as good as me, she would own the world. And yet I'm just joking. No, she was very, very kind, and that's a great honor. Yeah. Thanks, Janice.
And it's not the only one, as I said. Let's go on and hear the next tune. And this is the one that I first heard that I was talking about on Sirius XM. And it really introduced me to you. It was a great way to get started. Would you play for us? Do You Really Want to Know?
Oh, I just lost you for a moment. Am I back? I am back.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Sorry. There was just a blip there. I'm back. Okay. Yes. Do You Really Want to Know is the name of the song. And this song is inspired by, I guess you could say, our sometimes uncomfortable relationship with empirical knowledge as human beings. And we see it, oh my gosh, it is just this tendency of ours collectively to not believe something, even though there's ample evidence for it, is just, it's evident in the world today. My gosh, the world of politics, global warming and evolution and all these things that have mountains of scientific evidence, consensus. But we are also creatures of belief and stubborn belief. And sometimes if it's something we don't want to know, because it means that we need to be responsible or change our behavior, somehow it affects our lives, then of course we can just choose to not believe it. So anyway, yeah, and this song talks about two moments in history that really illustrate that. So I'll just play you the song. The sun once went around the earth, according to the Holy Church, which helped to reassure people that they were the center of the universe. One day His Holiness the Pope met a man with a telescope and said, "Hey, Mr. Galilei, what does your spyglass say?" And the scientist spoke. He said, "It's really quite amazing. Entirely life-changing. So let me ask before I show you, do you really want to know? Oh, do you really want to know? Oh, Emma read the Bible for direction. She said she was a child of heaven, and that the human race came from a higher place, from the angels descended. She wound up marrying her cousin. He was a thinker of a husband. Lost in thought she'd find him, say, "Charlie, what you writing?" Darwin looked up and said, "It's really quite amazing. Entirely life-changing. So let me ask before I show you, do you really want to know? Oh, do you really want to know? Oh, do you really want to? Let knowledge like a breeze in through the door of your belief, blow through the rooms and the corridors, knock cherished heirlooms to the floor. That wind can raise the roof sometimes, leave you blinking at the sky. So if you stare into this glass, beware that there's no going back. You'll say sunrise, but it will refuse. Instead, the earth itself will move and spin you round from dawn to dawn into the wonder of it.
Bravo. I love it. Gosh. Yeah, that's definitely high on the Goosebumps scale for me as well. That's on the Heavens Below album, I think.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Which I
Heaven
highly
Below.
recommend. Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of
I'm just
great stuff
shuffling
there.
my lyrics here. I apologize.
No problem. Listen, how did you get into this line of work? I mean, there are lots of great singer-songwriters out there, and it's not that you only sing about the glories of science and nature, but it is kind of a specialty of yours. And I think you're also nearly unique in that you embrace so much of what we really do know about life, the universe, and everything. But how did all this start for you?
Well, I just, I just have found my way. I think that I had talking about belief that isn't always grounded in evidence. I had a belief when I was a young man saying, I'll just write the songs and they'll find their way into the world. And you know what? I think that has borne itself out, but it hasn't been magic. I mean, not always anyway. It hasn't felt that way. It's a difficult business, and I think that there's a great quote by there's a book called Letters to a Young Poet, where Rilke, who's a famous poet, is talking to a young poet, and the poet says in a letter, how do I know if I really have what it takes to be a poet? And Rilke basically, in effect, said, well, ask yourself if you have to do it. If you have to do it to be happy, if you do, then congratulations, you're a poet. And so that's kind of the way it's been for me. I just feel like it's sort of my spiritual practice. It kind of grounds me. It's the way I sort of make sense of the world. So hopefully then you can find a way somehow to make a living. Thanks to people like you, truly, that's how it happens. Folks who resonate with the music hopefully say, hey, can you play here? Can you play there? And that's how it continues to work for me.
Let's hope that before too long, you and the rest of us can start going out in public again, because I can't wait to see you again on a stage. But, in the meantime, folks, I'll give them the albums another plug, because while this is lovely, there really is nothing like them. You have to hear the arrangements on the albums, and they're beautifully recorded. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Tell us about this next tune, which all of your songs, almost all of them, I think, are very personal. But this one, it seems to me that it really especially seems to come from your own musings about life, the universe, and everything, to use that phrase again.
Yes, and forgive them. I'll ask all watching to forgive. When I'm playing for you live on stage, I have a mute button for my guitar, but I don't now because it's going right into the mic, and so I'm trying to tune while we're chatting. So, and there are some different tunings.
Pete is famous for his custom tunings and for the patter that he entertains you with as he is doing that on stage.
Well, I'm glad you think so, Matt. I sometimes, stumbling my way from tuning to tuning, but I think I'm pretty much there here. So I'm gonna not touch it for a moment and tell you about this song. So there's a wonderful writer, a cosmologist named Brian Swim, who has written a number of books about the universe and the meaning of the story of the universe to him. And at one, he has this little book. I think it's called "The Universe Is a Green Dragon." Forgive me, Brian. but there's one of his little books where he basically says, I think, part of the problem is that we're living on this planet. We didn't, for most of our history, know it's a planet. And I think that that's not surprising because it's not an intuitive thing. You don't feel the planet moving, and it appears that the whole, cosmos, the whole sky is turning around us. And so it took careful, painstaking observations and the powers of instruments to conclude, my gosh, we're on a planet, and but even though we know this intellectually, it's so easy to forget it every single day, to forget this larger context of our existence, this planetary existence, cosmological existence. This is our story, but it's not always easy to remember it. Our animal brains don't necessarily go there. So what do? You try to remind yourself. I think a good person interested in science would, try to remind ourselves every day somehow of this fact. And so Brian suggests a couple of meditations in his book. One of them, which I think is so beautiful, he says, at night, if you have the opportunity, lay on the ground at night where you can see the stars, look up at the stars and imagine that the stars are below you. Imagine the stars are below you. This is just as true as them being above us, of course, because there is no up or down in space, and it's gravity holding us to the planet. So imagine the sky is down, and if the earth should then let go, I'd fall into the stars below. I love that, and so basically I stole the first couple of verses, the concept for this song, entirely from Brian Swim. So thank you, Brian, for that. So anyway, this is simply called The Play. Oh, little tuning. Okay, good enough for folk music, I guess. I'm just going to point this mic down a little bit. Sorry. When I go outside at night and look up and the stars are bright, sometimes I lay on the ground and imagine that the sky is down. And if the earth should then let go, I'd fall into the stars below. I'd fall into the stars below. When I see the red sunset in its quiet splendor, I reflect that sun's not going down at all, but the earth is turning somersaults, and through a sunlit sea it trails, and we are on that great big whale, we're riding on that great big whale. I try to grasp the simple fact of this existence and think of all the fantasies, fairy tales and wishes. None strike me as more unlikely or magnificent than this is. Hands and faces seen up close, or galaxies through telescopes, crimson hillsides in the fall, and more astounding than them all are pondering minds with eyes that see. These are deep, mysteries, deep mysteries. When I try to grasp the simple fact of this existence, think of all the fantasies, fairy tales and wishes. None strike me as more unlikely or magnificent than this is. Like a strange enchanting play of impossible dimensions, the setting and the stage run light years in all directions, and the breathless scenes in the storyline defy comprehension. And when I think of all the roles in this production, all I know is I'm in the cast, but could it be I'm also in a front row seat to sit in my amazement, gazing, to ooh and ah, to sigh and say, my, what a wonderful play. My,
Oh, that's just great, Pete. You know what? It makes me think when you talk about being in the audience watching the show and you're on the stage, you're part of it all. Carl Sagan's great quote, the universe is, we are a way for the universe to know itself. One of his many. Listen, go ahead.
May I jump in with that?
Sure.
That is exactly the concept that informed that song, certainly that lyric, and this idea that when we're learning about the universe, that's part of what's happening, right? Is that we are the universe, the earth become awake and aware of itself. And that idea, just wow, talking about a spiritual idea. It's just, there's such depth to that. So thank you for pointing that out, Matt.
You bet. My pleasure. My great pleasure. I want you to go right on to the next one, which may be among your most famous. We can talk more about it afterward, but I'm gonna mute my mic and sing along, just as people do in church, at least certain churches.
Okay.
In fact,
okay. Well, I'll tell you about this song. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I should say that this is not my melody. This is a tune that I grew up singing in church, called Heifer Doll is the tune. With church music, there's usually a name for the melody, and then depending on what the lyrics are, usually there's many settings to these old tunes. Then it has a different hymn title in your hymnal. But the melody is called Heifer Doll, and it was written by a man named Roland Pritchard in the 1800s. It's amazing how some of these beautiful melodies just endure. They just become part of the fabric of our culture. And so here's a song. So I put another set of lyrics to Heifer Doll. This is called Blue Boat Home. And I can tell you that I think that part of our challenge as human beings is to try and find ways sort of relate to all of the information that we're getting, the story that we're getting from science, how to relate on a human heart level, really, with all of this stuff, because I think that it is who we are. It is our story, but it's not always easy to know what to do with it. And so a songwriter is always looking for metaphors. You know, what is a good metaphor to express something that's true? Because I think that we work with images in our lives. Usually images and stories are sometimes more compelling than just sheer information. And so the metaphor here is one that I think is cherished by many, and that is seafaring. It's a romantic idea. We have, most of us have a real relationship with the idea of setting out on a boat, on a journey into the vast ocean. It's just a beautiful metaphor. So we can use that metaphor for the fact that we're on a planet in the universe. And so that's the idea behind this song. And we are moving, as we talked about before. It doesn't feel like we're moving, but everything is in motion. And we know now for a fact that we are on a planet, and the planet is not just moving slow, it's hurtling around our sun, which we know now is a star. Our planet is spinning on its axis, depending on where you are on the surface of the planet. Here in Minnesota, it's probably about 900 miles an hour that we're moving with relationship to the axis of the Earth, spinning around together, all of us, every one of us on Earth, spinning all the time. And not only that, but we're flying around our sun at, I believe, about 67,000 miles an hour. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, the moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. My blue boat home.
Amen, brother. That's so that song is in the hymnal for the Unitarian Universalist Church, so I get to sing it in church once in a while. I know I was watching something at the National Cathedral. I think it was a memorial service. I'm not sure. And they played Blue Boat Home with a full choir. It was absolutely delightful because I already knew the words. I am told we are getting lots of lovely comments, and I hope there's a question or two in there as well. We're going to start sharing some after we hear this next song, which is just another one that gives me goosebumps. I think the passion, beauty, and joy of science is so present in this next one you're going to do. So, tell us about it, and then when you're ready, go ahead and lay it on us.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Well, first a little tuning for your listening pleasure.
While you do that, everybody knows you're watching the Planetary Society live. I'm Matt Kaplan, host of Planetary Radio for the Society. And as you've seen a few times on your screen, we're listening to singer-songwriter Peter Mayer, who's coming to us from his home in Minnesota. Is it Stillwater, I think?
Stillwater, yeah, a lovely
Stillwater.
town called Stillwater, yep.
Right across the river from Wisconsin, Teddy Bear Park. I want to go sometime, and you can give me the tour of the town.
I played for the opening of Teddy Bear Park. I played
No kidding.
Teddy Bear by Elvis Presley. That's right. You missed something special.
What else could you play? Of course. Okay, go ahead.
Of course. Okay, well, so we're talking about, we just mentioned the consciousness. So in our learning about the universe, it is in a real way the universe learning about itself. We were born of the earth, of the universe, and so here we are now. The earth become awake and aware. I mean, it sounds kind of like a crazy idea, but I think it's very, very expressive of what actually is happening. And so I love that idea. And I just think, well, okay, we humans have our challenges, right? As a species, to say the least. We are encountering grave challenges on the planet right now, and not just COVID, but many things that threaten our future. But it's a beautiful thing to be a human being in many ways. And I think that some of us environmentally, folks who think about ecology and such, sometimes we feel terrible about being human. But I think we are also capable of wondrous things, and of celebrating, just simply celebrating our own existence and just existence itself. And so in the midst of all our tribalism and, all that stuff, I think it's important to say, don't forget who you are also in that sense as a human being. So this kind of celebrates that. In all of the thousand years that have passed, days that have gone by, and the countless astonishing things that have happened, like the first star to turn on a light in the sky, or like the sun being born, or the earth being formed, or the first twitch of life, the depths of the sea, or the very first flower to brighten the world, the very first he, the very first she. There was no one to see it or say, oh my God, no one to laugh or to weep, and now only one can uncover the story and search through the clues. It is you, human, you, human, you. Of all the things made of atoms, the children of matter, the comets and the quasars, the oceans and the stones, and the millions of creatures who have lived on this planet, who've walked through the ages, floated and flown, there was never among them a poser of questions, painter of sunsets, keeper of dreams, who could measure the days and the nights as they're passing and seek understanding, ask what life means. It's as if all of time were a song that has finally found ears, or as if the whole world for 4 billion years has been lying unconscious and is now coming to. In you, human, you, human, you. So in all of your hurries and your preoccupied worries about when your next meal or next paycheck will come, in your hopes and ambitions, your quest for possessions, your search for self-worth and for sex and for love, just remember that there is a wider communion, a deeper dimension of which you're part. There's a whole universe that's evolving, unfolding. You are its consciousness, you are its heart. Human, you are a mountain that now has just opened its eyes. You're the wandering earth, you're the awakening sky. You're a galaxy laughing, whistling a tune. That is you, human, you, human, you. You are a mountain that now has just opened its eyes. You're the wandering earth, you're the awakening sky. You're a galaxy laughing, whistling a tune. You, human, you, human, you.
It's another one. You really capture it, Pete. Here I am, trying to be the professional, I guess you can still call it broadcaster, but I just get carried away. I start humming and singing along. It's wonderful. And I suspect we have some other people out there who are doing the same, or at least are giving us some terrific comments, as I said, and some terrific questions. We're going to go back to the music in a couple of moments here. And it's going to be a fun tune. Pete wanted to include something fun. And he's got a lot of those. There's the hat song, which there's a quote that you used from me on your website. You said you kind of, in entertaining me with that song, you also made me feel okay wearing grown-up hats, which I need to do now with a wider brim. I guess we all should. But we'll get back to that in a moment. Let's see if we have one of those questions. It should pop up here on the screen in a moment. Here we go. It's Afraid of the Dark, who asks, has Peter ever considered what it would be like playing these songs live, while orbiting our beautiful blue and green marble? And if you could, would you catch a ride?
Oh my goodness. I think that being a dad now, I don't often do very risky behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of scares me to blast off into space. So yeah, I probably would say thank you. I'm honored, but no thanks.
I'll take your seat. You can point to me.
Okay,
I'll
Matt,
go.
it's a deal. Somebody
Okay.
offers and is willing to pay for it, then I'd say
That's the
talk to
key.
Matt Kaplan.
That's right. Okay, yeah. I'll send you a postcard.
Okay, thank you.
We got another one here. And by the way, Afraid of the Dark, I suspect, is a Planetary Society member, a regular listener to Planetary Radio. So hi out there. Here's one from Bailey Grace. What inspired you to write music like this? Well, I think we've heard a little bit about that.
Well, I think that like probably all of us tuning in, we've been somehow inspired by our own existence and by how amazing the universe is. And I think that, what do you do then? If you've been inspired and impacted by something, you want to express it somehow. So if you're a songwriter, that's how I tend to try and work these things out. I just want to somehow express what I'm feeling and thinking. And I hope that all of you who are artists or writers or anything like that, I think that it's really important to do that, not only for ourselves, but to share the news, to share this news. Do people know about this? And how do we share it and celebrate it together? So I guess that's where it comes from.
Yeah, listen, if I could sing and play guitar and write great music like you, I would try to do that and share it. But instead, I talk to people in front of microphones about this stuff.
Yes, and we're all so lucky that you do, Matt. I mean, again, this is a way for us to sort of communally help celebrate, come to terms, learn together, all that stuff. So thank you for that.
Well, that's sure how I feel about it too, but thank you. Tell us about this laugh riot that you're about to share with us, about my daughter Laura, my older daughter's favorite breed of dog, kind of.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, she owned one.
Oh, well, I don't know. So this song is about greyhound dogs. And, I got my own dog. It's not a greyhound, but I got my first dog now. And I love her dearly. Her name is Maisie, and I have this wonderful relationship in my life. I've always had allergies, so I haven't been able to have a dog, but we have one of those hypoallergenic doodles. So that has really worked out great for me. So I maybe this song was kind of came from that relationship. I don't know, but it's just and one thing you should know before you hear this song, and forgive my tuning, always tuning, is that if you now I confess I've never been to the dog track, but if you go to a dog track, you will see, apparently, so I've learned, that the dogs are being led around the track by a sort of mechanical rabbit that's at the end of a long arm, and they are running for their dear life after that rabbit at the end of that pole. So that's really the only thing you have to know before hearing this song. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. All of the greyhounds that were hanging around at the track had a meeting that their leader had called in the back. It was just for dogs, so they waited till the humans were gone. And then with a nod and a tap of his paw on the floor, did the leader named Skeeter call the meeting to order, with a serious look around from dog to dog. He said, "I'm afraid I do not have good news. The rumors you've been probably hearing are true." Then he took a deep breath and he said, "I am here to tell you, it's not a real rabbit they've been making us chase. It's no kind of prize, not even alive. It's only a fake. So we have been running and running around in a meaningless race. But I'm here to say that I quit today. The rabbit is fake." Sorry. That was a day when for greyhounds everything changed. They became disillusioned. Some moved away to a place on the beach where they gazed at the sea. Some tried meditation or took medication to try and revive that old motivation. Feel that old feeling of purpose and reason to be. But some said that rabbit is still worth the chase, and they tried to believe it was real anyway. And they covered their ears with their paws when the other dogs would say, "It's not a real rabbit they've been making us chase. It's no kind of prize, not even alive. It's only a fake." So we have been running and running around in a meaningless race. But I'm here to say that I quit today. The rabbit is fake. So if the greyhounds seem a little too slow, when you go to the races you will know that they know. And they just might be singing this song to themselves as they go. It's not a real rabbit they've been making us chase. It's no kind of prize, not even alive. It's only a fake. So we have been running and running around in a meaningless race. But I'm here to say that I quit today. The rabbit is fake. I'm here to say that I quit today. The rabbit is fake.
Yeah, that's about greyhounds, right?
Of course it is. Of course.
It's dog eat dog out there. That's delightful. We've got a couple more. We're at the top of the hour, but we're going to keep going for a couple more minutes. Pete, if that's okay with you, because you've got a couple more tunes for us. We'll close out with one of them. But this next one, Well, first I'll say if we have any other questions, I know, folks, you're just enjoying listening to Pete as I am. So it's not like we're expecting you to ask questions, but I know you're saying lots of nice things. Those are being relayed to me, and we sure appreciate it. We're glad that you're enjoying this as much as I am, actually. This next tune that you're going to do, which I guess you were already preparing for, it reminds me that you were a devout young lad. Weren't you headed for the priesthood at one point?
I was, yes, I was. I was with a group called the Jesuits. The Pope is actually a Jesuit, I think.
Yep. It was about time, too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so, yes, I grew up Catholic in a very devout Catholic family, and was very impacted by that, and took a theology major in college, and then went into the Jesuits for a couple years thinking, gee, maybe this is what I want to do. I ended up leaving, and I'm no longer Catholic, but this kind of the sacramental way of looking at life, I really appreciate having had that experience. Visiting every week, the things that are most important to you, and breaking it open in ritual and song. That really has had a lasting effect on my life. And this song is inspired by growing up Catholic, and also by this idea that, gee, if we tend toward the spiritual and the religious, I do think that we ought to include the universe in that, include the things that we've learned, the magnificent, mysterious, profound things that we have learned about who we are and what we are. Bring that into our liturgies and rituals and worship. So anyway, yeah, I'll just sing you the song. You're getting a good dose of tuning this morning, everybody. Even stopping the last song and tuning. Sorry about that, but hey, makes you wish I played the piano, doesn't it? But I'm afraid all I got is this old-fashioned stringed instrument. But anyway, thanks for bearing with me. All right. I'm just going to get my lyrics here, too. When I was a boy, each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, and now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
That is so sweet. Thanks, Pete. I also want to thank that good old Society of Jesus for whatever role they played in making you what you are today, which is a gift to all of us.
Well, thank you, and I'd like to thank them as well. I met some just absolutely wonderful, inspiring people in the Jesuits, so thanks for acknowledging that.
Absolutely. We're pretty much at the end here. I am being told that the number one thing that we're hearing from a lot of people is, will you do this again? They want to hear more.
Always. Of course, I'd be honored anytime. Thanks for
Thank you.
asking. Yeah.
You know what I really want to do, of course, is get back on a stage with you, with some people out in front of you, and enjoy it with a whole bunch of other people who can applaud along with me. And, you know, if everything goes well, maybe we'll all be vaccinated before too terribly long, Pete, and it'll be great to see you again in person.
Oh, we'll all be happy to be there, won't we? In a room with other folks, just, yeah, unafraid.
We need each other. The website, again, is petermayer.net, not .com. That's the other guy. And you've got a newsletter. You keep us informed of what's going on. I mean, what's the best thing for people to do to stay informed and find out more? I assume the website.
You can sign up on my website. There's a little way to sign up on the email list. And forgive me, I'm not the best at just keeping update, but you can find out information about me at petermayer.net. Also, I am amazed to even say this, that I'm finally on Facebook. You know, what happened is when we got, when COVID hit, I learned about how folks are live streaming shows at home. So I do that every month or two. I'll do a live streaming thing through Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook at Peter Mayer Music, or just Peter Mayer, or Peter Mayer Minnesota is another page, a fan page. And I'll, if I may say, I think it's October 3rd. That's my next live streaming thing there. So
I'm going to make a note.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, and forgive me that CD Baby isn't really working, but you can, as I mentioned, find me at Amazon or iTunes, those kinds of places as well. And yeah,
Highly recommended. There is a comment that our ace director producer here wants to share. He simply says, thanks for this event, Planetary Society. Well, thank you. Thank you, all of us, for joining this Planetary Society live event. It is one of a series. We will have more for you in the coming weeks and months. And I hope that we'll have Pete back once again, whether it's live or not. I sure plan to get him back on Planetary Radio one way or another. I hope you will tune in if you're not a regular listener. Planetary Radio, our weekly podcast and public radio series that you can find at planetary.org/radio, or just go to the main website, planetary.org, and you'll find all of the wonderful stuff that we have going on at the Planetary Society. And while you're there, maybe drop by planetary.org/membership and take a look at all the ways that becoming part of our society, one of us, can help us to get this kind of the wonderful work that we do to help us keep doing it and expand it, and maybe even keep bringing you wonderful opportunities like the chance to hear Peter Mayer. Pete, thank you again so much. I'm going to let you have the last word, or the last note, maybe I should say, and take us out with this last tune that you can tell us a little bit about, and I think it's a very appropriate way for us to exit.
Well, let me say thanks again to you, Matt, and to the Planetary Society. I'm just so glad that you all are doing the work that you're doing, bringing us all a sense of the magic and wonder of our universe. So thanks a lot.
It's our pleasure.
So I'll leave you with this song. We talked about the story of the universe as science has revealed it to us over the last several years, and it still is. And this is such an amazing story. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if just like occasionally you have folks going door to door selling their religion, wouldn't it be great if like somebody decided, let's send out a bunch of bands of people just to tell people the story of the universe, so you knock on the door. Have you heard the story of the universe? Can I come in and tell you about it? It's somewhat a tongue-in-cheek idea, but it's like, I think we need that, just sharing the story, not just because it's exciting, but because it's true. I think those two reasons. So that's what this is, kind of a silly, I don't know, just song imagining that. This song just imagines that. What if one day somebody came to my door telling me that story? So anyway, I'll leave you with that song. Thanks again all for tuning in, and here we go, Story of the Universe. I saw two people walking down the street, and by the look of them, it seemed to me they were evangelizing door to door. So when they knocked on mine, I knew what for. I said, no thank you, I'm not interested, have a nice day. And then one of them said, have you ever heard the story of the universe? They must have seen confusion on my face when they said religion isn't why we came. Science is the only Bible that we bring, and how we are all a part of everything, everything in all of space and all of time. Have you ever heard the story of your life? Have you ever heard the story of the universe? So I asked them to come in and sit down. I put on coffee and we talked about all of the 14,000 million years, atoms and stars and life when it appeared. It seemed like magic, but it was real. The more I heard, the more that it began to feel like the holy word, story of the universe. Here's the scat part. Here we go. La 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 la. How much time had gone by, I couldn't tell, when we finally said thank you and farewell. And I heard a robin singing out so clear, and felt a little more excited to be here. And everywhere the air, the houses and the trees, everything around me seemed to say to me, have you ever heard the story of the universe? Have you ever heard the story of the universe?